Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope everyone's doing well. Today, we are going to not do our notes in our note packet. So if you could please ask the sub for your day 5 worksheet. I'm going to do a couple problems right off the worksheet because the note packet really doesn't follow this worksheet that was made. So I want to make sure you have some good examples of what you're going to be doing. So before you do anything else with this video, stop it and ask the sub for the actual homework. And I'm going to do some problems off of that. So again, we're not going to be doing it in our note packet. We're going to be doing some problems right off of our worksheet. So go ahead and do that, and then we will get started. So the first part of this worksheet, the first page, I believe, is looking at equations and trying to find the graph that matches them. And that's our goal throughout this entire process. We've been factoring, we've been finding what x equals. Well, this is setting us up for graphing. So that's what's going to happen today. Now it says match the equation with the correct graph by using the zero product property to find x-intercepts. Well, x-intercepts are where the graph crosses the x-axis. So the x-axis, remember, is always the horizontal axis. So you want to find the x-intercepts in the equations that would match up with the appropriate graph. So I'm just going to start with number 1. Number 1 is in factored form. You have 3 things being multiplied together. You have 1/3 times x plus 3 times x minus 5. So that is factored form. To use the zero product property, you set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take 1/3 equal to 0. I'm going to take x plus 3 equal to 0, and I'm going to take x minus 5 and set it equal to 0. Now, we have 1/3 equals 0. We've had things like that before. A number equaling 0 does not make sense. 5 equals 7 does not make sense. So when that happens, you just cross it out and not use it. Now we're going to go back to the other equations here and solve them. X plus 3 equals 0. To solve it, I just subtract 3. And my first answer is x equals -3. Now I do the exact same thing for x minus 5 equals 0. This time I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I'm doing it up here. So when I add 5 to both sides, my answer is x equals 5. So I've solved this. I have 2 solutions for x. I have x equals 5, and I have x equals -3. So your goal now is to look at the graphs and find the graph that has your intercepts of +5 and -3. +5 and -3. Well, if you look carefully, it would be graph G. +5, -3. That is my answer for problem number 1. So that shouldn't be too hard. Just set each factor equal to 0 and solve. Find out what x equals. You're going to have the 2 x-intercepts, and then match it with the appropriate graph. Let's go to the next page. So this page, it says, follow these steps to graph the quadratic equation. Use the zero product property to find your x-intercepts, which is what we just did. Put these values in the table. Find the additional points in the table by using given x values, and then plot the points. All right, so let's just start with problem number 1. It's laid out for you nicely. So this was your equation. You always set it equal to 0 because we're going to solve. Then you factor it. So x squared minus 5x plus 4. If I were to factor it, that means I look at the factors of +4 that add up to -5, and that would be -1 and -4, so that's done. Once I do that, I set each factor equal to 0, so x minus 1 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, and then I go ahead and solve each of those. X minus 1 equals 0. If I add 1 to both sides, my answer will be x equals 1. The next one, x minus 4 equals 0. If I add 4 to both sides, my answer will be x equals 4. So how this works in my table, when my y's were 0, which is right here, 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 using my zero product property, I got 1 and I got 4. Now those are your x-intercepts. So I'm going to go right over to my graph right away and plot them. So over 1, up 0. That's kind of close. And then over 4, up 0. It's hard to mark with a stylus. All right, so then the next thing you do is you take your values for x, 5, and you plug it in to your original equation and find your outputs. So I'm going to do that math right over here. 5 squared minus 5 times 5 plus 4. When I do that, it's 5 squared, which is 25, minus 5 times 5, so 25 minus 25 plus 4. When I have x is 5, my y is 4. Now I'm going to do the same thing with 0. Plug it into the original equation. So 0 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 4. All right, so 0 squared is 0, minus 5 times 0 is 0, plus 4. Now I'm going to do it for -1. Remember, keep your negatives in parentheses. -1 squared minus 5 times -1 plus 4. -1 squared is 1 minus 5 times -1 plus 4. My answer is 10. And then here's a little tricky one, 2.5, but don't make it tricky. It's just a decimal. So 2.5 squared minus 5 times 2.5 plus 4. So let's do the math here. 2.5 squared minus 5 times 2.5 plus 4 is, calculator just lost it on me. I got -2.25. So now you just need to finish graphing these. So I did the first two in blue. And now I'm going to do 5, 4. So over 5, up 4. Okay, over 0, up 4. What you should start seeing is that your graphs are symmetric. They model each other on each side. -1, 10. And then 2.5, -1, -2, 2.5, -2.25. I'm going to check that number just because it looks funny. Well, it seems right. So over 2.5, 1, 2, and then down 2 1/4. Which is hard to see there. So you can see the points of your parabola. Now, it doesn't really seem to me that that blue dot on the bottom is my vertex. So I'm a little sketchy about that right there. But leave it like that and we'll visit that later. Now you should be able to do problem number 2 just fine. It's just like number 1. When you get down to 3 and 4, you have to factor them first. So when you're factoring number 3, the first thing you need to do is look for a greatest common factor. So look for a GCF first. Factor out a GCF and then do the zero product property. When you get down to number 4, factor the trinomial and just carry the negative 1.5 down with you. That will give you your 2 x-intercepts and then go from there. All right, guys, I am back Monday. I'm so excited to see you. You need to have your stuff done. I'm not coming back to work not done. I'm not going to hear the sub didn't know what to do. I'm not going to listen to any of that stuff. Guys, do not give me that excuse. You had a sub there that knew math for a week, and I've given you videos for this week. You need to model them. So I look forward to seeing you. Have a fabulous weekend, and we'll chat later.